I'm working in the Sagarmatha National Park in Nepal. This national park basically contains some of the largest peaks in the world, including Mount Everest. And I'm looking at the impact of tourism on the local livelihoods of the communities, or the Sherpa community, in the region. In 1960s, almost after a decade, when Mount Everest was first summited, 20 people were the first tourists who showed up in the region, and that's how it started. In the current situation, in about 2008, there were about 30,000 tourists showing up in this region, and so tourism has progressed or increased exponentially in the region, and it leads to a significant change in both the culture, the economy, the resource utilization, and the pressure on the physical infrastructure of the region. But tourism is considered to be the least destructive activity in terms of resource utilization in a region. It is also seen as a significant livelihood earner for local communities. It transfers a significant amount of money in the region. But at the same time, tourism has these indirect effects on the region that are not immediately seen but have long-term impacts in the area, and those are the issues that I am grappling with. One of the challenges that tourism has brought in is the pressure on the resources. I would like to say that because of its incredible economic value, people have benefited significantly. But by the pure virtue of the size of the tourism that is now present in the region, the resources become really stressed. One of the resources, for example, is the water resource. And even though these people are living close to glaciers, the chances that they're living very close to water is low. Villages are usually established close to streams, and some of these streams have dried up. So you can often find in these regions water pipelines that run about 1 kilometer from the houses to the nearest water source. And with the increased number of tourists showing up there, the water scarcity is increasing. In terms of fuel, this region has a more number of people require more amount of energy, and that energy requirement is fulfilled by either using yak or cow dung, or by burning fuel wood. Extraction of fuel wood then leads to degradation of local forest resource. While there have been efforts made by a community and the park management in the region to reduce that pressure or to manage it, it's still a challenge. In terms of physical infrastructure, while the area now has enough lodges and physical resources to handle about twice the amount of people that are coming right now in terms of overall capacity. The challenge is that tourists show up in this region in a very small window in a year. And so suddenly all the resources get into extreme pressure for 2 or 3 months, and then they are left out and there's no use of them. But because of that sudden pressure, the physical infrastructure is heavily becomes vulnerable. The Sagarmatha National Park Management Plan has ended in 2012. The new management plan requires greater tourism management understanding into it, and my research directly ties into providing policy inputs into the Sagarmatha National Park Management Plan for the next 5 years. For that reason, I am working with the Mountain Institute and the Mountain Spirit, who are jointly engaged in this research work. And the learning of my research is going to be disseminated to the local village committees that have been actually participating in the development of the national plan. And so the idea is to empower and also provide a greater understanding of these drivers of tourism and create a discussion within the community so that they can by themselves come up with certain understandings that can allow them to manage what tourism means for them. Right from the beginning in my research, we have engaged with local communities. There have been people who have been directly involved in the research and have an institutional memory of how we have conducted the research over the last 3 years. In this, we are trying, because of their continuous engagement, we have kind of locals who are involved in understanding what are the challenges that we have touched on and how we have come up with a solution. So one part of it is that these local people would become the knowledge bearers of this research. And the second is that these flow diagrams that we've developed, the beauty of these flow diagrams is that they don't depend upon a particular language. And that means that it is easily transferable in terms of a means of symbols to people who don't really have a formal level of education, and henceforth still being a part of research and understanding. I was a 12-year-old kid when my father first sent me to the Indian side of Himalayas on a trekking camp, and I was mesmerized by that landscape. And so partly, of course, there's a little bit of romanticism in me too to follow the landscape. But other than that, in terms of when I came to Yale, I realized that working in this region really provides an ability to use the training of the School of Forestry and Environmental Studies of trying to link and collaborate across these disciplines and issues like tourism, which both have not only an economic impact or a resource impact, but also have cultural impact. They can drive communities in terms of migration. All of this can be studied in a very interdisciplinary framework, and this topic becomes a really powerful one to study it. And that's the most exciting part of working in this region, where by a simple discipline, one cannot find a simple solution.